Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. Bear with me here as I check my audio settings. There we go. Let me fix that really quick. There we go. Thank you so much. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell. That way you're notified whenever I go live. We'll be having a round table on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check that show out. Check out the content. I have a lot to unpack in this video, so forgive me if I don't get through all the comments and stuff like that. Shout out to Mr. SRT50, Chief Funky. What's up to DJ Mexicano de Tejas? Check this out. I want to give everybody my official prediction for this fight. All right. I'm going to try to be as down the middle as I can. I'm going to try to provide a prediction that I believe will be accurate, that I believe will manifest itself on Saturday night. That's going to be my intention here. As I do with any fight I predict. But I want to give full disclosure. Full disclosure. I do consider myself a fan of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Okay, so if for whatever reason that alone, can make you feel like, you know what, that disqualifies him from anything, that's fine. But all I ask is that you judge what I say and my take based on merit, not on my ethnicity, not on, well, he's Mexican, therefore, not on any of that nonsense. Just base it off of merit. That's all I ask. All right. So let's kind of go over it here. All right. And once again, if you're new to the channel, hit the sub, hit that like button, share the video on your social media platforms. As I do believe, I'll give you a breakdown and prediction of this fight that is worthy of it. Check this out. First of all, this fight, all right, is going to be for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world. So I want to make sure I preface this by saying, before anything else, I say that this is a significant fight. This is a fight that has a lot of history at stake. This is a fight that what we are looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is, well, more than likely, unless it's a draw, right, that more than likely there's a 99.9% chance that we're going to have an undisputed champion crowned at super middleweight. I want you to stop. I want you to think. And I want you to kind of let that sink in. And in the case of Saul Canelo Alvarez, he could become the first ever Mexican in the 4-belt era to be undisputed champion of the world. The significance of that is debated, but that is a factual statement. Also, he'll be the first ever Mexican undisputed at this particular website, this particular weight as well. So there's a lot of history at stake for Canelo, and obviously for Caleb Plant. If we're honest, This fight literally fell in his lap. If we go back before Canelo even campaigned at 168 pounds, the thought of Plant versus Benavidez was enticing to boxing fans. We wanted to see that fight. They were both with PBC, yet the fight didn't happen. For whatever the reason is, PBC didn't make that fight happen. We got to keep hearing about how Shakur against Valdez needs to happen now because they're both with Top Rank and ESPN. Yet, if we stay consistent, shouldn't Plant Benavidez have happened? They were both with PBC. They were both title holders, yet the fight didn't happen. If we are honest and objective, we should understand that this opportunity fell on Caleb Plant's lap. Caleb Plant did win the IBF from Musa Kiteki a couple years ago in 2019. And shout out to him. Shout out to Caleb Plant on snatching that belt. But the reason we are just this one fight away from undisputed, objectively speaking, realistically speaking, is because of Saul Canelo Alvarez. That's what the evidence shows us. That's what we have witnessed shows us. That's why we are here in this moment. That's why we're here. Canelo beat Callum Smith. Canelo beat Billy Joe Saunders. And now he's going to win all 4 belts if he wins this next Saturday. So I wanted to just say all that before we get to the prediction portion of this. Let me first start with Caleb Plant. I was a fan of Caleb Plant, right? I still am to a certain degree. But Caleb Plant has really, disappointed me since he won the belt with his terrible level of opposition that I just can't get behind, with his terrible lack of awareness of the situation he's in. And I don't want anybody to confuse confidence and going for the win and all that. Like, of course you should be doing that. But don't lie to me. Don't lie to the people. Don't tell people you've been doing everything possible to make undisputed, that your goal was to become undisputed when you had no actions that showed us that. So why am I saying all this? The reason I am saying all this, ladies and gentlemen, this fight is not the ultimate peak after 2 fighters fought for supremacy in a weight class and are now meeting for supremacy at the tip. That's not what this fight is. Do you understand? Mere circumstance has Caleb Plant in this historic fight. Circumstance. Not his actions. Not his movements. Not his conquering. Have you seen a movie, Rome? Oh, not Rome, I apologize. Gladiator? Where the new young emperor's coming in with his chariot. Just took over he's now the new emperor of Rome. The son of Marcus Aurelius, I forget his name. And he comes in and the senators are looking at him and they say, he enters Rome like a conquering hero. But what has he conquered? What has he conquered, ladies and gentlemen? We know what Canelo has conquered. We know what Canelo has done. Objectively speaking, If we're honest, Canelo's the one that's done all the work. Objectively speaking. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, I asked the same question. He's entering this fight like a conquering hero. But what has he conquered? What has he done? What has he done, ladies and gentlemen? So why is this important? This is important for you guys to know, right? Because the way the brain works, the way you're programmed to think, okay? Unless you step outside of yourself and you think about it for a moment, okay? The way we're programmed to think, the way you watch movies, the way you watch your favorite shows, even sitcoms, okay, the way you watch other sports, right? It's assumed that the final portion, right? Even when you watch Infinity War, right? Avengers, right? The final part, the peak of it all, the climax of it all is the most challenging part. And it's not in this case. Caleb Plant may be the final stone that Canelo needs to grab, but it's not the most difficult stone left to grab. It's just the one that was being held hostage on the other side of the street. And all Canelo is doing is walking over to the other side of the street to snatch it. That's what's happening right now. That is what we're witnessing right now. But you have a lot of people, because of the way you're programmed to think, well, oh, I think it's going to be a tough fight for Canelo. No, I think Plant could give him a great fight. You know what? I think Plant could pull it off. Well, Plant is here for a reason, I've heard some people say. Well, he's in this undisputed fight for a reason. Plant is not in this undisputed fight due to merit or by conquering anything. Caleb Plant is in this due to circumstance. It was the hardest fight to make. It's not going to be the hardest fight to win. I repeat, it was the hardest one to make. It's not going to be the hardest fight to win. One more time. Shout out to Tony Boswell, Fistiana Fights. Okay, Isaac. Okay, Eastside Austin over here capping for Plant. LT. Shout out to everybody. Check this out. The reason this fight is happening last to make undisputed is because it was the most difficult fight to make. It was not the most difficult fight to actually engage in for Canelo. I honestly feel that way, and I will stand firm on that before I even begin to talk about how I believe this fight's going to go down. With that said, if you know anything about probability and chance, right? Something can be 40% likely to happen and it doesn't happen. And something could be 10% likely to happen and it does happen, right? Just because it was less likely to happen doesn't mean it can't happen if the more likely thing didn't happen, right? So I understand that Canelo still needs to go to the ring. He still needs to engage in combat against a trained fighter and man, Caleb Plant. Sorry, I was going to call him Callum Smith. So that right there is what we need to kind of look at here. And that's what we're here to talk about right now. He will now be fighting for undisputed at 168 pounds. Now we have Fight Doctor saying Olivares is the most protected fighter in boxing. The most. Well, that's a hell of a claim. Interesting. Um, but whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, just okay. Just 2 weeks ago, he was scared of Caleb Plant, according to Fight Doctor. But now he's the most protected fighter. Okay, I got it. Check this out. Moving forward. Okay. Let's talk about the fight. So, regardless of anything, the fight is happening. All right. Now let's talk about how Canelo got here. Canelo got to the spot after he finished. Well, first of all, he became the regular WBA super champion when he beat Rocky Fielding. I'm a consistent guy. When Canelo won that belt, I said it's not a real belt, just like I say about all the other WBA regular champions. Okay, and I told Canelo, go ahead and go get the real one, which Callum Smith had. So that's number one. Just a side note. Okay, Canelo finally finished his litigation with the Zone. Okay, with Golden Boy, he got out of the Golden Boy contract, and he said at the time, look, I want to be active, I want to fight often, and I want to be undisputed champion. I no longer have to deal with Golden Boy. I now have control of my own career and my own destiny. At the time, countless of individuals said that was bullshit. Oh, Canelo's not going to do that. He never became undisputed before. So why is he going to do it now? Right? Like that's what was said. Canelo, right? He saw, okay? He came and he conquered. That's what he did. Like a conqueror. He went to Callum Smith, snatched his belts. He went to Billy Joe Saunders, snatched his belts. Now he's coming for Caleb Plant's belts. That's what he's doing. He is doing what he said he was going to do. And yet we have people mocking it and saying that's bullshit. When we were trying to make this Caleb Plant fight happen. Is that interesting? Isn't that something, ladies and gentlemen? Questioning whether he was serious about doing it, and he's ducking Plants, and you had dude like Nestor Gets from the Boxing Boys saying that Canelo's the one ducking and all this other ridiculous shit. Like, are you fucking shitting me right now? Either way, the fight happened, and now it's gonna happen. Would have been nice to have it on Mexican Independence Day weekend, but we didn't get that. Whatever, right? But nonetheless, he set out to do what he said he was going to do. He's a man on a mission, Canelo is. And now we find ourselves in this fight for undisputed at 168 pounds. So let's talk about the fight. Let's talk about the fight. Look, Caleb Plant is a good fighter. I don't want to make him out to be this trash fighter because he's not a trash fighter. He's good. Okay? Caleb Plant has pretty good speed. Caleb Plant has a really good jab. Caleb Plant has really good situational awareness in the ring. Okay? And what I mean by that is Caleb Plant does not have, a predetermined processor in his mind. When Caleb Plant throws combinations, he's throwing them on the fly. He jabs, and depending on what you do, he follows up with something else, right? He has really good punch placement, does Plant as well. All right. So that's what he does. He doesn't say, okay, I'm going to throw a jab, cross, hook. And then and he just doom, 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 boom. Like, that's not what he does. Caleb Plant throws punches, okay, in situations and in the midst of the fight, right? In the middle of action, whatever you do, he does in return. Caleb Plant, in fairness to him, is not a pattern fighter. And this is why I believe Caleb Plant will likely win at least 2 of the first 3 rounds or so. Okay. I don't know if it'll be the first, second, or third, but I have this, I believe because of the way he boxes, because of that situational awareness, okay, that situational intelligence that he brings to the ring, right? Pretty solid ring IQ he has, right? A very good jab that he brings, really good educated footwork that he brings, right? In the first 4 rounds, Caleb Plant is one of the best fighters in the world, right? And that is going to give Saul Canelo Alvarez problems early on, right? I think the jab will be landing, okay, for the most part. I think Canelo will kind of ride with it a little bit. I think he'll ride with the shots that Caleb Plant has coming. I do see Caleb Plant hitting Canelo with some pretty good counters early on. You saw him hit counters against Uzcategui, dropped him twice. So I'm not saying he's not a capable fighter, all right? And I do think that the footwork is going to be something that he's going to have to catch up to, Canelo is, all right? Caleb Plant has a really good ability to switch from offense to defense pretty swiftly, right? He does it a little bit seamlessly. So I do acknowledge the good things that Caleb Plant brings to this fight. This is the problem, though. It's a little too basic for Canelo. Just a little bit. The things Caleb Plant does are done very well, right? I think he has really good reflexes. That's another thing I need to mention, right? And it gives him the ability to kind of, okay, throws a jab. If he sees it, that you may counter it, or you're slipping it, he can step back, and that's what Caleb Plant does. He shoots that punch. If he shoots it straight at you, right? Depending on what you do, that determines what he's going to do next. All right. So it's going to be a thinking fight early. The problem is it's a little too basic for Canelo. And I've also seen situations where Caleb Plant can start to feel a little overwhelmed. Okay. When I saw the fight with Truax, he was doing all the things I mentioned he was doing to Truax, and that's what won him the fight. Right. But when you watch Truax in the ring, right? You're watching Truax, and I don't know about you guys, I'm trying to envision Canelo in there. Truax caught him with some really good shots. And it's inevitable. I'm going to think, well, man, if that was Canelo, right? That's an inevitable thought that's going to come through my mind. All right. Caleb Plant, all right, is more hittable than a lot of Caleb Plant supporters out there are making it seem like. I'm sorry. He is. And as the fight progresses, as we get to the 5th round, 6th round, as fatigue starts to kick in, all those great things I said and mentioned that he does, they start to drastically diminish. Drastically. As the fight progresses. So there's guys that he starts like dominating them, and then it goes from a complete domination to like kind of just outboxing them towards the end of the fight. But not in really dominating fashion, right? So like Caleb Plant is a capable, good fighter, right? That has really good reflexes, good situational intelligence, but he's a little too basic for Canelo. Because here's what Canelo's going to bring to the table, right? First of all, Canelo's not going to follow Caleb Plant around the ring. Before the Billy Joe Saunders fight, I kept saying, man, but Billy Joe has really good footwork. He does. In fact, I think Billy Joe has better footwork than Plant, for what it's worth. Okay. And Billy Joe possesses a lot of the same things I just described about Caleb Plant. A lot of the same things. It's just that Billy Joe, however, okay, is a southpaw. All right. That's one of the main differences between the two guys. I couldn't tell you who has better reflexes. I think they're both up there, but nonetheless, The only thing Canelo needs to do in this fight, right? And I said the same thing for the Billy Joe fight. Okay. It's the only thing he needs to do is stay in front of Plant. Okay. So you need to follow him around the ring. When Plant steps this way, you step that way. When Plant steps left, you go his left. When steps to his right, you go to his right. All right. Whatever he does, just stay in front of him the whole time and give him mid-range presence throughout the entire fight. That's all he has to do. That's all he did to Billy Joe Saunders. He didn't bother really. I mean, not until the very end when he wanted to just finish the guy off did he really bother trying to cut off the ring, really, to be honest. Because this is why Canelo could do this. And I saw this in the Jacobs fight a little bit. Canelo, if you saw the Billy Joe Saunders fight, he was the one on the back foot early in that fight. And I remember watching, I'm like, I see what he's doing, right? He made Billy Joe feel comfortable in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like Billy Joe, okay, I'm hanging with Canelo, everybody. Like, you know what I mean? And it got to the point where it created this ebb and flow, right? Canelo has this way of creating ebb and flow in the fight where, okay, I'm going to be on the back foot for now, and you're on the front foot. Now I will be on the front foot, and you get on the back foot, right? He has this ability to create that situation in fights, all right? He did it masterfully in the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Set up Billy Joe for counters by doing so, right? And by the time, ironically, like Caleb Plant's favorite line is, you know when he found out when it was too late. Well, ironically, that's how people find out what Canelo does in the ring, all right? In this fight, don't be shocked at all if Canelo, in fact, I'm predicting that Canelo starts going on his back foot early in that fight. Maybe not at the very start. He might try to press Plant early to see where Plant is at. Again, and I wouldn't blame Canelo for doing it. Think about it. First big fight, bright lights. If he deer in the headlights, he might catch him early. You know what I mean? So I could see Canelo pressing early, right? Just to see where Plant's at. Don't be shocked if he's the one on the back foot, rounds 2, 3, and 4. Don't be surprised. In fact, I'm kind of thinking that. I honestly do think Canelo will either be on the back foot or will be circling the ring with Plant while they're at mid-range. See, everyone seems to think of boxing like this tug of war, right? Where like, one's coming forward, the other was going backward the whole time. That's how people see boxing, like moving this way, right? When in fact, boxing's in a square, so they're fighting this way, right? And sometimes they could kind of switch off, hit the ropes, come this way, right? They're moving around the ring. That's how boxing is executed and fought, right? And I could see Canelo start moving on his back foot, right? And having Plant move around the ring with him like he did with Billy Joe Saunders, right? And what I see happening, all right, is him keeping it at mid-range that way, and that is Canelo's wheelhouse, okay? I want you to think about a couple of things. A lot of these tall guys haven't quite figured out Canelo yet. They don't know how to deal with him, okay? The reason they don't know how to deal with him, they're fighting at super middleweight. They're used to guys being 6 feet tall or taller, right? 5'11" would be considered short, like a Billy Joe Saunders, but that's what they're used to, right? They're used to these bigger dudes, right? And they're used to a certain body frame fighting them, right? That's what they're used to. Canelo compacts his body, right? He shows a lot of upper body movement, and it's hard to pin him down. He has really good head movement, upper body movement, okay? And his feet, while not fast, are very educated, all right? They're having an extremely hard time with him. They can't figure it out. Like Callum Smith couldn't figure it out. He tried to use distance and use the jab, and all Canelo was doing is slipping under him, and he turned his arm length into a disadvantage by getting on the inside and tearing at his body. And happened. I don't believe Canelo purposely ripped his bicep. I just think it happened. But nonetheless, it happened, right? But it was a result of what was happening in the fight. Okay? They don't know what to do. It's kind of like an orthodox fighter that's never fought a southpaw before, right? It's kind of like, yeah, and the southpaws fought a bunch of orthodox fighters. That's why historically, southpaws were considered like having an advantage, especially early in fights, right? The angle's different. Everything's different. It's the same here. Canelo has now fought multiple tall guys. He knows how to deal with them. He understands what weaknesses they have. He understands when he compacts his body, it's hard for them to grab him, right? Which we'll talk about in a minute, right? It's hard for them to push him off because he's strong like a tank, right? He's stronger than them, even though he's shorter. He's a big dude. He's a tank. He's wide. You know what I mean? So they're having problems deciphering what they want to do with this guy. They don't know what to do. It's like they haven't dealt with this. They really do. They really do need to find like a 6'8", 6'10" and below dudes to spar with to get used to. But to find somebody that size and that strong, it's going to be extremely difficult, right? Not to mention how elusive he is from the body up, or from the waist up. Extremely elusive, right? Makes guys miss their jab, slips them, he comes in, right? When he's at mid-range, he has the advantage. Okay, he's hitting them at the end of his punches. And when he gets inside, he's able to rip to the body, shoot upstairs. I mean, he has all the advantages from mid-range to the inside. And he finds a way to keep the fight there, all right? And if Caleb Plant begins to move away and starts getting negative in the fight, right? All Canelo's going to do is not follow him. That's it. And the reason guys can't, a lot of other fighters can't do that is because the negative fighter, the one moving away, when they do move in, they could shoot a jab, land it, or 1-2 land it, and then they start to back away. That 1-2, right? That's why it's called the stick and move. They'll boom, boom, hit you, and then they back away. Boom, boom, hit you, then they back away. That's when it's effective, right? They're not hitting Canelo, right? Canelo will start to, he won't follow them. Like a Billy Joe will come in, he'll shoot his punches, not land them, or Canelo will roll with them, right? And he's like, well, I can't really back away now because I didn't land anything. Nothing was landed, right? So Caleb Plant's going to be in this weird situation, right? Where I don't think he's going to be landing much. And I don't think the, punching, holding, turning the opponent's going to work here. Unfortunately for Caleb Plant, that's a little too basic for Canelo. It just is, right? All Canelo's going to do, he's going to compact his body, okay? I believe he's stronger than Plant, right? I don't think Plant's going to have the ability to turn Canelo, right? Like 1-2, boom, hold you, turn you, right? And get on the outside again. I don't think he's going to be able to do that at all. I just don't. I would be shocked if he does that to Canelo one fucking time, right? Successfully. I would be shocked. Somebody says it was on purpose. Okay, cool. Good for him, right? I don't even think it was necessary, but I got you, okay? But at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think, I don't even think catch and shoot's going to work against Canelo. I don't see him pairing shots and getting Canelo back. I just don't, right? Why? Because Canelo's very educated with his punches. When Canelo shoots a jab, if you parry it or block it, okay, Canelo's not stupid. Like you know what I mean? He's not going to just lunge forward or something, right? He just isn't going to do that, right? Canelo makes sure his jab lands in your face or blinds you before he shoots another punch, okay? In fact, there's this video on Instagram where he's teaching this young kid how to throw combinations, and he kind of explains to the kid about how to utilize a jab, right? And that's one of the things he kind of explains to him, how to follow it up. Like, you don't just follow it up. You got to make sure it landed. You got to make sure it did something, okay? Um, Now the pressure I do believe will come in like in the fifth or sixth round. That's when I think Canelo will start pressing on the gas, right? And just when Plant thinks, okay, we're in a competitive fight, I might be losing, but I'm in it. Canelo's going to press on the gas, and he's going to take things to another level, a level that Plant's never seen before. Plant's going to be shooting jabs. They're going to be getting slipped, right? And when he does land it, he's going to have a hard time following it up because Canelo's going to be backing up a little bit. Okay. Now Canelo's going to get hit. It's boxing. It's inevitable to get hit. But the question is, how many like relevant shots are going to really be landing on Canelo compared to Plant? I think it's going to be lopsided in that department. Me personally, you know, I'll tell you this right now. When Plant gets hit flush by Canelo, which will happen really early in the fight, I think his demeanor is going to change. I think the way he fights is going to change. I think we're going to see him get on his front foot a lot less. All right. Um, I actually think Plant's going to look clumsy at points of this fight. I just do. Right. There's a lot of breaks in between when Plant fights. He's kind of gotten used to it because they haven't risen his level of opposition. You know, and I don't think he's used to that relentless, never-ending, revolving motion of a fight. I don't think he's used to that, right? And Canelo's found a way to make his fights be constantly moving, right? And against these bigger guys, they're just having a hard time with them. You know what I mean? Like, I just think they're going to have he's going to have an extremely difficult time with that, you know? I do think Canelo's going to have a hard time getting Plant against the ropes. Plant's really good at pivoting out of the way. That's going to be extremely difficult, I think. He's going to have to basically kind of utilize his hook to the body if he wants to reroute Plant to another direction, right? But I definitely don't see Canelo following him in the ring at all. And if he doesn't get him to the ropes in this particular fight, I don't think it matters. I think he needs to keep the fight in the middle of the ring because that's where I think he's going to do his best work against Plant. Caleb Plant is a capable fighter. He's a good fighter. I just don't think he's at this level. And there's nothing I've seen from Plant that shows me otherwise at all. There's no fight you could show me that it doesn't exist that you could show me. Oh no, but look, he fought this guy, and it just doesn't exist, right? He's never fought someone with the ring IQ of Saul Canelo Alvarez, with the experience of Saul Canelo Alvarez, and I'm sorry, with the power of Saul Canelo Alvarez, or if you want to call it educated power. I don't know if he's the physically strongest dude he's fought. Sometimes the most physically strongest dudes are brutes, and they're just not that good of boxers, but it is what it is, right? But at the end of the day, this is someone who has it all, and Plant's going to have problems with what I call the firewalls in Canelo's defense, okay? And why Billy Joe and Jacobs were exerting so much energy just to land a punch on Canelo, right? Canelo obviously fights with a nice high guard, okay? Blades his body a little bit, right? And he likes to kind of gauge, distance, right? So his first line of defense for Canelo, if you noticed, and you could see the clips like on YouTube, is his upper body movement, his head movement, right? And his reflexes. He's still in his prime. They're still there, right? Canelo's good at bobbing, weaving, making guys miss shots. And then that's when he comes in and does a lot of his counters, or at least puts himself in position to land his shots. That's the first firewall. The second firewall is the guard, right? Even if he doesn't make you miss, he'll catch a lot of those punches with his extremely tight guard. Canelo has one of the best guards in boxing, right? Just watch it. Even when he fought Gennady Golovkin, whoever he fought, look at all his fights at even Sergey Kovalev, who's a big puncher. If you want to look at the Callum Smith fight, he just put a dude in a stretcher, like, you know what I mean? Billy Joe Saunders, whatever. That guard hardly moves when they land on the guard. Okay. There's some other guys in boxing. Errol Spence has a hell of a guard as well. Like, you know what I mean? But Canelo's guard is tight, and that's his second firewall. The third firewall of Canelo is his ability. And to me, he's the best in the game right now at it. There's nobody that does it better than Canelo. And that's his ability to roll with shots. Okay? We still have a lot of Caleb Plants out here making it seem like Caleb Plant slapped the fuck out of Canelo. When in reality, the fingertips touched and Canelo rolled with it. No fingertips going to make your head go like this. Okay? He rolled with it, right? So he has the ability to roll with the shots. Okay? He rolls with them. He takes away 80%, even if it's just 30% of some of the shots. He rolls with the majority of those shots. All right? Why do you think his face was clean and Gennady Golovkin's was busted in the second fight? A lot of those shots that people think, oh, he turned Canelo's head. Like, Canelo rolled with those shots, bro. Right? It does remind me a lot of Morales would roll with shots like that very well. And he does a lot. He does the dramatic rolls, right? Like Sergio Martinez used to do. Like he did against Williams. You remember Martinez would come in, he would roll, and then boom, he would hit you with a straight left, right? And then he also has like the subtle rolls that he does, right? Where he kind of like, it's the punches aren't landing clean. He's kind of slightly rolling them like Chavez used to do, right? And he does that very well, right? So you got to get through his head movement, right? Upper body movement, right? Then you got to get through his guard. And then even if you get through all that, you have to get through him rolling with the shot, right? So he has a defense that he uses at different points of the fight. He uses his head movement, upper body movement when he's closing distance. He uses his guard when he's already at distance. And he uses his head movement when someone's coming back with a counter, okay? So not many guys can say they have all those forms of defense. Caleb Plant can't say that. Nobody else in the sport can say that. Canelo, right? Many say, what do people say? Floyd Mayweather took him to school, right? That's what they say. Well, he must have been a really good student because he learned from that fight and he got better, okay? But Saul Canelo didn't just learn from a fight with Floyd, which, hey, I think it's great that he learned from that fight. He got better, and look at the product now, okay? But it's not just that fight. He's a student of the game, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's that good. That's why he's in the shape he's in. That's why he has the skills that he has. That's why he's developed those things. Canelo wasn't rolling shots like that just 7 years ago. Not like that. Not like he's doing now, right? And he has found a way to kind of incorporate that firewall defense. He's found a way to incorporate that with unleashing his offense while doing two types of pressures. Mid-range pressure, where he's in front of you, and that could train you mentally, right? Shooting jabs, he's slipping them, his presence is still there, right? And you're constantly moving, you're shooting, and that's why Billy Joe was exerting so much energy. He would throw combinations like one would miss, one would hit the guard, one would get rolled, and boom, you'll finally land. But it's like, bro, you're shooting 4 punches with everything you got to land one, and the motherfucker's coming back and hit you with something harder, right? That's what's going to happen in this fight. Very similar, all right? Very, very similar. So, and I'm sorry I'm missing the chat, guys. I apologize, but I wanted to kind of give my thoughts and my, just give my thoughts about the fight for you guys. You know what I mean? But check this out. Saul Canelo Alvarez is a student of the game. All right? That's what he is. He lives in a fucking gym. You know how crazy that is? Like, that's not normal. Now, you may say, well, I saw Floyd do that. Exactly. My point exactly. He lives in a fucking gym, guys. Canelo's always, like, that's where he is. You go to his Instagram, he's moving around, shadow boxing, right? That's what he's doing, right? Even when he's not training himself, he's mentoring dudes like that UFC champ that went to go visit him. I forgot his name, and he's teaching him how to hit the big heavy bag, and it's just he's teaching like he's like, no, here, power, right? Bah! Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't worry about speed rate or whatever it is. Right. And then he goes to the speed bag and this is what I do here. Okay. He's shadow boxing with young kids and kind of showing them what's up. Like, he's always like in the gym, and don't take me literally. Okay. Like, oh, what do you mean, DStyle? I just pulled up a video where he's golfing. Like, I don't literally mean 24/7. Okay. But you know what I mean? This guy's a multi-millionaire. He makes $1 million a month off of the gas stations he owns in Mexico. 99% of people wouldn't do shit, okay, if they were making $1 million a month, all right? Plus, he's making 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, 35 million against Jacobs, right? And not to mention the money off the back end and the money off the gate and the TV rights around the world and whatever Televisa pays him and whatever. I mean, this is crazy. This guy's making money all over the place, but the hunger hasn't died. The Zone was offering him $35 million to fight Masvidal and McGregor, and he said, no, I want to fight boxers. I want to fight champions. And we saw people questioning if he wants to challenge himself. You saw people questioning whether he has desire. I'm just saying. Now the GOAT, I understand Plante's story, and it's tragic, and I'm sorry that happened to him, right? But that doesn't help you win fights, right? At the end of the day, like, if Plante loses to Canelo, man, he can still hold his head up high. He was still part of a great event. He was still titleist in a great sport of boxing. He still accomplished great things. You know what I mean? In terms of, in his profession, and he could still do great things, right? But this Saturday, I just don't think he's going to win. There's things more important in life than boxing, right? So it's okay if he loses to Canelo, right? But all I'm saying is I just don't think he's going to beat him. I think he's in over his head. I don't think he had the proper challenges to prepare him for this moment. Maybe if he would have fought a David Benavidez and edged out a decision against him and you know what I mean? And like had a fight of that magnitude already experienced, maybe I would give him a better chance. You know what I mean? And I get it. Maybe he was being sarcastic. I just felt like that's like some serious shit. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. So, like, you just can't. I don't understand. Like, you guys got to think about this for a moment. If you in your heart really believe Caleb Plant has an excellent chance to win this fight, then go ahead and bet on the dude. Like, it's a 6-1 underdog. Like you bet 100, you'll get 600 back. Like, if you really believe that. I just don't think he's going to win. And I think everybody knows this. Like, it's one of those, like, we all know, but we're just waiting for it. Saul Canelo Alvarez is chasing glory. That's what he's chasing here. Like, I'm telling you, right? I don't even. This isn't Achilles versus Hector, ladies and gentlemen. It just isn't. This is like Achilles against like Canelo already got rid of Hector. Like, this is like Achilles versus like some other like Trojan warrior. Like, you know what I mean? Like the third best. Like, that's what this is to me. I'm sorry. So, Cristiano, what are the odds for this fight? I think Canelo's minus 1100 and Caleb Plant's a plus 600. Although that was as of Monday last week. I'm pretty sure Plant's probably a 4-1 now, a 4.5-1, something like that. And Canelo's probably like a minus 900 right now. Unless they move back, because Isaac's saying they're still like that, but they could move, and it could depend on the casino, and it could depend on the website and the bookie. It could depend. You know what I mean? But the line's not moving which tells me a lot of people don't really believe in Plant. I see a lot of capping on the internet, but I don't really see people that really believe. I think they're hoping. I think that's what it is. But something that's really troubling for me, if you are a Caleb Plant fan, is how he gassed out in the last 4 rounds of the Ustatiki fight. That has to be a troubling sight for you. Right? Like, it has to be, because best case scenario, he outboxes Canelo for 6 straight rounds, which I don't see happening. But let's say he does. If he starts to tire out, dude's in trouble, bro. Okay? Because Plant, I promise you right now, look up Plant's connect rate. I promise you, it's going to be a lot less this time. His connect percentage. Plant's probably going to have to throw 3 to 4 more punches to land than he's used to. And that can catch up to you as a fight progresses. Okay? And what I do think Canelo's percentage connect is going to be low in the first 3 to 4 rounds of this fight, because what I mentioned earlier about Plant and what he brings to the table, right? By all means, you know, because I'll tell you right now, if this was an amateur boxing fight, if it was 3 rounds, amateur rules, right? I would favor Plant. I would, right? Like, I would favor Plant in that type of environment, that type of fight. But unfortunately, this is a 12-round world champ, right? So my official prediction, Caleb Plant will go in 8. I'm going to give him 8 rounds, and then I do believe this fight will get stopped. Another troubling thing for Plant is from what I see, I think he's going to get cut. I think blood will be in his eyes. I think his nose will be busted, right? I think he's going to be spitting blood into the bucket due to the body shots that Canelo's going to be landing on that long torso when he's on the inside. I think Caleb Plant's in trouble. That's just how I feel. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay? Because what are you going to do if Plant wins? What am I going to do with Plant? I'm just going to come back here and give Plant his credit, right? I just don't think he's going to win, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't. I don't think they prepared Plant properly for this battle, bro. This dude's about to go fight the Achilles of boxing today. Okay, and he hasn't even fought anybody remotely close to that level. I'm telling you right now, this not. I'm telling you. I don't know, I don't know why anybody would think he's prepared for this. You know, now usually I give guys so I'll say this 7 through 9. I usually give 30 rounds. Is where I think Canelo's gonna stop Plant. Okay, I think he'll stop him. I also wouldn't be shocked if he just knocks Plant the fuck out. It wouldn't shock me at all. Okay, Plant has a pretty long neck. And I just feel like if he gets clocked clean, which is hard to do in fairness, he could get knocked the fuck out. Okay, the MD 2020 Bandit says, thanks for the insight on this fight, DStyleBoxing. Saludos. Hey, brother, I appreciate your support. I hope you guys can make of it what you will. Okay? I think I explained what I see, what I think will give Plant problems. What is Plant's answer to the high guard of Canelo when he's compact and it doesn't have many targets, right? Well, thankfully, Plant has really good punch placement, so I'm sure he'll still get some shots in there, right? What's he going to do about the head movement, upper body movement? I think he's going to have a hard time with that, right? And what's he going to do about the rolling of the shots? He's going to have to find a way, to make it work against Canelo, which I think it's going to be extremely difficult to do. Nothing's impossible. But I just don't see it for Plant. Okay. And that's that. That's how I see it, guys. Hey, shout out to everybody. Isaac, shout out to you, the boxing historian who's been on quite a great role predicting fights. So subscribe to the boxing historian 206. He dropped some, he's dropped some really good predictions this year. Has been right on point. So make sure, great boxing mind. So make sure you follow him. You know what I mean? Shout out to I think I saw H Money here earlier. Shout out to him. Junior Delgado, Christian NWO. How you doing, brother? I saw Divine Sense somewhere, so a shout out to Divine Sense. He feels strongly that Plant's gonna, give Canelo a good fight. We will see how it goes, right? I just think that Plant's never seen something like Canelo. Canelo has seen something like Plant. So simple as that. Yo, guys, I do got to get going. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I apologize if you didn't get the notification. For some reason, YouTube's not sending my notifications to a lot of people. But for those that catch it live, make sure you share the video. Give me your thoughts, and for everybody in the chat right now, right? Make sure you hit my like button. Make sure you do that. And if you don't like the breakdown, that's okay. You can like it anyway, shit. You know what I mean? Or dislike it. You can press the thumbs down if you want, right? That can at least indicate to me, not that you're hating, but that you don't agree with my breakdown, that you think Caleb Plant can do better or that Caleb Plant can win, right? So I'll accept a thumbs down for that, just so I can kind of know where you guys are at, right, with it. That's perfectly fine, right? I appreciate you guys, and I salute you guys. And this is DStyleBoxing. Keep it boxing. I'm out of here, guys.